thank you everyone for joining. My name is Anjum Khan and I am the Director of the Asian Business Chamber of Commerce. Today, our attendees will gain insights into what the judges are looking for and how to tailor your application to maximize your chance of winning one of our business awards. Please use the Q&A chat box for any questions you have, and we will get those answered for you. I'm going to start by introducing you to our guest today, starting with Raj Kandola, Chair of Judges. Over to you, Raj.
Thanks, Anjum. Hi, everyone. So I'm Raj Kandola, Director of External Affairs at Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce. Been with the Chamber now for 6 years. Prior to that, I worked for Shadow Minister, at the time was Shadow Europe Minister in a communications role, and also worked in London for 8 years, recruiting for asset managers and investment banks.
Thank you, Raj. And now I'm going to introduce you to Omar Rashid, who is our president and also a past winner of the Outstanding Startup Business of the Year in 2018.
Thank you, Ange. I think that's probably the best introduction that I would have said that you've already done. But yeah, I'm Omar Rashid, president of the ABCC since this year. But my day job is with the HR department, so we provide outsourced HR and recruitment services. And like Anne said, previous winner in 2018. So can kind of advise and guide you on how best to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Mashkura, over to you.
Morning, all. So my name is Mashkura Begum, and I was just calculating. I was a committee member, I think, in 2011 and 12. For just over a year, and then I had to take a break, maternity break. So in my day job, I work as a freelance consultant, managing projects in particular around Sweden. And I've worked in the community. I'm a chair of trustees for a women's organization in Birmingham, work with NHS, Mental Health Trust and National Institute of Health Research. So I've got a bit of a portfolio career. Yeah.
Thank you, and apologies, I should have said Mashkura Begum is one of the judges for this year's awards. So I'm going to kickstart off with the questions whilst the other panelists join us. And just to all the attendees on this webinar, if you have any questions, please do type away in the Q&A and we'll come back to you. So I'm going to kickstart with you, Raj. Can you provide an overview of the awards programme and its criteria? Sorry, you're on mute.
Still doing that 3 years later, aren't I? So from our perspective then, there are 8 different categories, which I'm sure you've seen. Just as a reminder, that's Outstanding Charity of the Year, Outstanding Male Entrepreneur of the Year, Outstanding Female Entrepreneur of the Year, Outstanding Professional Services Business of the Year, Outstanding Small Business of the Year, Outstanding Startup Business of the Year, and then our last 2 are Outstanding Tech and Digital Business of the Year, and finally, Outstanding Young Achiever of the Year. From our perspective, you know, the ABCC Awards, it's a recognition initiative that honours outstanding achievements of each of those 8 award categories I've just mentioned. And really, the criteria for these awards take into account factors such as impact, innovation, leadership, and contribution, just naming a few. But really, the awards aim to acknowledge individuals and organisations that have demonstrated exceptional performance and made significant positive contributions. So I've just mentioned, obviously, the categories there. You can view a breakdown of each category, and the criteria for each award is available on our website, and we can share that link once again after this webinar has finished. Each of the application forms also outline what the applicants need to cover and demonstrate how they meet that criteria. So I think that's really an important thing to take into account.
Thank you, Raj. One of the questions that has come up already is if this recording will be shared, and just to let all the attendees know that, yes, it will go on to our Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce YouTube, and we will share the link with you. Coming over to you, Omar, are there any specific eligibility requirements or restriction for applicants?
Thanks, Ange. So first part of the question any eligibility requirements. Yes, in regards to, so I think firstly, if you look at some of the categories, there are some requirements. So if I give you an example, the startup of the year, the requirement for you to qualify as a startup of the year is that you've been trading for up to 2 years to the stage of when the awards are. So if your business, for example, just to clarify, if your business has been registered for 4 or 5 years, but you've not done anything with it, or you just put it in the background, but you actually kind of really started trading within the last 2 years, then that's fine. Please do apply. Your 2 years cut off is at the date of when the awards are, so 2 years up until the 18th of November. So that's sort of a requirement. If you look at small business of the year, what we would be looking at as a criteria is if you employ less than 50 employees, that's what we would consider yourself as a small business. And then young achiever, without being too ageist, we've got the barrier of up to 35 years and below. So from award categories, and again, this is kind of outlined on the application forms when you go into it. So from each application point of view, those are the sort of criteria. And on a bit more on a wider scale, so if you are a member, pretty much there isn't any sort of anything stopping you from applying, as long as you feel that you warrant applying for the awards that they are. You can apply up to 2 awards. If you are not a member, then there is a slight restriction based on where you are based geographically. Your business is based. So we've gone for, if your business is based within the Greater Birmingham, Black Country, Compton, Warwickshire areas, then you can apply. If you're a national sort of business, but you feel that you've got a hub or a presence or an office situated within those sort of areas, then that's fine as well. And the final part, do you have to be Asian to apply? No, you don't. But when you look at the questions, one of the things that we will be asking you is, what we're looking at essentially is not your ethnicity, but what we're looking at is how your business has had a positive impact within the Asian community. So if you are a non-Asian, but your business caters predominantly for the Asian community, your workforce is predominantly the Asian community, you have your suppliers predominantly, if you feel that your business is having that positive impact within the Asian community, but you yourself or your business isn't predominantly an Asian owned or an Asian business sort of thing, then of course we still would be welcoming your application as well.
Thank you, Omar, for that. And Mashkura, would you say, are there any tips or best practices for completing the application forms as a judge? What advice would you give?
I think Raj sort of mentioned that at the beginning. I think the impact and innovation as a judge, that's what I'd look at. We know the West Midlands is a region of literally thousands of businesses. So, to filter through the really sort of, good applications, I think personally for me, I'd look at the impact it's made, not only in terms of, the economy, but also the human aspects. I think I'd be really interested in that. So I would really bring out, how are you looking after your workforce? That's something that I'd really look at. How are you sort of impacting some of the communities you're operating within? So to speak, your CSR, just not painting fences, but doing a bit more than that. I think that's something that I'd look at.
Thank you for that. Omar, are there any common mistakes or pitfalls that applicants should avoid in their submissions?
I think the biggest one is not answering the question properly, or not really looking at some of the tips or the sort of things that we've highlighted or have been highlighted that we want you to cover. I think also just leaving things to assumption. There's an assumption sometimes that, let's say if a business has a good social media presence or a well-known brand, that making a certain statement that the judges will know who I am, or the judges know about my brand, and therefore what I've done or what we do as a business should be taken, for granted sort of thing. I think that's an assumption we shouldn't make. There will be some judges on the panel who will just not know, will not have heard of you, may not have heard of your brand, etc. and will judge just literally what's written on black and white. So emphasize as much as you can. Don't leave it to assumptions. If you can give examples, if you can give testimonials, if you can kind of back up the claim, that's what I would be saying to you. Look, just articulate it in a way. You've got some guidance. You've got it. You've got some pointers to follow. And I think tell a story. If you can articulate your answer in a story form, tell a story of how your business started or what your business does, how it's impacted, how you've created the innovation, how has that innovation come about. Must have, you're not just sat there and thought, okay, let's just innovate something. There's always a story behind it or a reason behind it. So if you can articulate your answers and your application in a story form, stories are gripping, and that's what you want to do. You want to grip the judges. You want to really get the judges to feel, oh yeah, I'm part of this story, I'm part of this journey, I'm part of what, really believe in what you guys are doing. That's going to make a stronger impact and a good impact on your application.
Thank you, Omar. I am getting some questions coming in, so I'll go straight to that. The next question we've had in is, do you have a guideline on how to answer the questions? Omar, can I come to you on that one, please?
Yeah, so there's a couple of guidelines. One, if you look at the application form, there will be a question, and then within the questions, it kind of gives you a few pointers on, look, this is what we would like you to kind of outline as part of your answer. So always use that. And like I said to you, just try and tell it like a story. I think what would be good and neat and tidy, I suppose, is if you were to follow the guidelines and you just answer each question, bullet point by bullet point, that would be good. So that's something that I would say, yeah, just refer to the questions, refer to the application form, the guidance is there.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Raj, coming to yourself again now. What are the key evaluation criteria for business awards?
Bear with me, sorry, just unmuting myself there. So judges will be scored based on what is in the application itself. So really thinking about how well applicants have outlined their content to meet the criteria outlined for each different category. Also want to see examples provided to support their content and evidence. So really kind of backing up that narrative, as Omar alluded to. Really trying to quantify and think about the positive impact that's been made. But also, I think it's really interesting to think about further testimonials and evidence submitted within the guidelines as well, but also ensuring that applicants remain within the word count outlined as well.
Thank you for that. If any of you judges want to add anything whilst I'm asking the questions, please do so. I've had a question come in to say that can charities apply for the awards? And I think I can answer that one. We do have an outstanding charity of the year, so yes, you can do so. Mashkura, I've had a question, if you can help me answer this one, is we're a business operating in the education sector, and thereby we can cross over to different categories. Which would you recommend?
I think looking at, it's coming back to answering the application and the questions properly. So if you're struggling under any of the headings, then that's telling you that you should avoid that category. So education is the most obvious one. But if it encompasses, I should have looked at the categories. But if you've got customer service as an example and you feel like you're really excelling in that and you could answer the questions, then by all means look at that. But the first port of call would be looking at the education category. But if you feel, and Anjum, I was just going to say, if applicants wanted to sort of double check on something after this webinar, are they able to get in touch with somebody at the chamber?
Yes, they can email us on the ABCC Awards at birmingham-chamber.com. They can go onto our website and all the details are on there under the ABCC Awards, and we'd be more than happy to answer any question.
So what I would probably suggest looking at the categories to answer the person's question is probably the small business of the year or the professional services of the year. If they feel that the educational sector that they're in might cross over into the professional services, I would probably apply for that. If you're a business less than 50 employees and you want to apply for that, I think the question really is similar to what Mashkura said, is have a look at the application form and have a look at what you feel you'll be able to demonstrate. But ultimately, what is it that you feel you would want to win? Would you want to be known as a winner of Small Business of the Year or be a winner of Professional Services of the Year? I would also then have a think and reflect on that as well.
Right. We have had our Chamber of Events team sharing the breakdown of the awards category in the chat box. So there's a link to that. There's a link directly to the ABCC Awards page as well, where you can download the applications to see if you meet the criteria and you are able to answer the question. Next question is, can you apply under more than one category? Who would like to take that question? I can answer that, or Omar?
I was going to say it's 2, isn't it? Up to
Yeah.
Well, you can apply for all of them, but you'd be shortlisted for a maximum of 2.
No, sorry, you can only
apply for 2. Is it 2 as well? Okay,
you can only apply for 2 categories, no more than that. And if you do, we'll be in touch to say which one you would like to go with on that one. Mashkura, as a judge, one of the questions that I do have for you, and no doubt applicants probably do think about this as well, is how do judges ensure a fair and unbiased evaluation of all applications that you receive?
I think it's really basing our decision on the evidence in front of us. So that's why it's so important that, you know, we're all sort of connected, networked. So we may know some of the businesses that's going to come through. But I think, again, Omar alluded to that earlier on, we won't make any assumptions. We will go by what's in front of us. And also there's a panel of us. So we will have those, you know, sort of, I think sometimes quite engaging discussions and debates, you know, why. So we would have to justify our decisions. So I think as judges, you know, when we sit to look at the applications, we will go by absolutely what's in front of us. So it's really important that applicants sort of really think about what they want to put in their responses, but also make it succinct. You know, we'll probably looking through, you know, quite a few applications, and the moment you start looking at lengthy responses, you know, the key facts gets lost. So I think it's really important that, you know, you keep it succinct. And I really like the you know, the analogy of tell a story.
Story.
And I think, sorry, Anjum, and another really key point is if applicants are able to talk to previous winners, I think that would be also really beneficial for them. You know, that may be something that if they are able to access them, just to see what they put in their application as well.
Sure. No, thank you for that. But also we have had instances where a judge has turned around and said they can't mark an application because there is a conflict of interest. And on that basis, they won't mark, and we go for average marks as well. So we make sure that we ask all our judges to kind of declare that as well. I'd like to welcome Mark Smith, who has been a judge with us for over the last few years and is from Aston University as well. Mark, I have a question for you straight away as you've
Thank you. Sorry for my late arrival. Slight Zoom problem.
That's all right. No, but thank you for joining us anyway. So I know I just kind of touched on this, but from your past experience being a judge with us as well and being on other judging panel, how important is it for, you know, judges to declare the conflict of interest, especially if they're affiliated with particular companies or industries?
I think it's really essential. I mean, Aston University has a close relationship with the Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce as a group and with the Asian Business Chamber of Commerce in particular. And I think when in the past Aston people have been a part of any of the submissions, I've removed myself from the judging process for that particular award. Now that obviously presents challenges to people like you, Anjum, because then you have to normalize the results. But I think it's the honorable thing to do is just to step back if you've got somebody that's from the same organization as you, regardless of whether you know them or not, because it's that perception that it could have been a conflict of interest that would detract from the eventual winner. So I think the respect point is for the people who have made submissions, so that when somebody, you know, receives their award, they know they've won that completely on merit because the judges have behaved in a proper and professional manner.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. And another question coming through. What sort of supporting evidence would you advise relying upon? For example, would reviews count as useful evidence to support a nomination, or would you suggest something else in particular? Open up to anyone who would like to answer that.
Yeah, I'll go first, Ange. Yeah, I would say reviews, customer testimonials, client testimonials, Google reviews. If you've got any sort of testimonials, you can screenshot them, put them as part of your evidence. I think there's also an option that you can upload, sort of like an appendices or a supporting sort of document within a certain size, file size. But yeah, I would just use, yeah, if you've got good Google reviews or other sort of websites where people have gone on and clients and suppliers and customers, etc., have gone on there and given you good reviews, and you feel, what you got to do is make sure that it's succinct with your application. You're not just dropping it in just for the sake of it because you think, oh, it'll look good. As long as it's relevant. But yeah, I'd be looking at, personally, I'd be looking at if you've got good Google reviews, customer reviews, testimonials, maybe you've won other awards, and you can prove that you've done so. I would add all of that in.
Thank you. Mark, anything to add on that?
No, I'll let you into a secret, Anjum. I love reading, and it's a good thing for somebody that works at university to love reading. And I think I'm completely with Omar. I mean, you know, send us supporting documentation, send us things that highlight where you have achieved things, and I'll gladly look through them and take it all in. One of the things that's quite difficult is to get a real grasp of the person behind the submission. So, you know, other people's views of you is a really helpful piece. Omar and I were recently together on the Future Faces Awards, and I think, Omar, it's fair to say getting to see some people as well was quite good for getting behind what we'd read about them in terms of their submission, other activity. So don't be afraid to put other things in. And I think we've had, I mean, I you know, in the past we've had sections of video and other sorts of stuff as well, which has been useful. I mean, clearly there is only so much we can read, and we all do love reading it, but there is a limited amount of time. But don't shy away from popping something in that you particularly feel proud of and that you'd like to draw to our attention, I'd say.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Just having a quick look at the questions coming through. Let's go with this one. So I've got, can previous winners, shortlisted nominees apply again? So if they've been a previous winner, or if they've been shortlisted before, I'm going to bring you back in on this one.
Yeah, so if you've been a winner of within the last 2 years of any category within the ABCC, then you wouldn't be eligible to apply, which actually I should have said earlier. But if you've been shortlisted previously but you've not won, then yes, you can reapply. As long as you weren't a previous winner at an ABCC dinner. So you're looking at whether you're a winner last year or the year before. Then you can't. But if you were shortlisted, or you applied but you weren't shortlisted, then yeah, go ahead, try again.
Thank you, Omar, on that one. Raj, if I can bring you in on this. There are individuals out there who don't feel they have enough to apply. What advice would you give them?
So, I mean, look, I think look at the supporting criteria, look at the kind of narrative, and really just back yourselves. I think, you know, if you've got to this point where you're considering it, then I think you've got a really interesting story to tell. It's all about just kind of harnessing that approach, making sure that you include the relevant details, but within the structure that's set out in the criteria itself, and just give it a go. I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right? And I think the good thing is as well, you'll obviously find out new things about applying for awards. You might make some new connections as well, which will come in handy down the line. And I think that's what the Chamber's all about, really.
Right, thank you.
And if I can add, I think one of the things when you apply for an award, the difficulty sometimes is that when you yourself are always hesitant to really self-praise yourself, because that's what it kind of is. When you fill in an application form, you're giving yourself that so much credit that look at me, I've done this and sort of stuff. And sometimes you feel a little bit clouded, you feel a little bit, what have I done? So what I would advise is speak to a customer, speak to a client, speak to someone that you trust within the networking scene or however, and show them the application form and get them to maybe answer or give you some tips, because what you might deem as, oh, that's nothing, or I haven't done anything great, someone else might value for that. A customer might value for something that you might deem, well, that was a little bit little, or I never thought of that. Someone that you know may value you or may highlight to you, look, you've done this, your business has done this sort of thing. So I'd probably also say, don't go into it alone. Don't look at the questions and the application alone. Speak to one or two people, speak to a customer, speak to someone that you trust, that you can get them to look at another objective view. And then that might also help you answer your questions and your application form as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. Mashkura, Mark, do you have anything to add to that?
I think just just observing the last several years I've been to the dinner, and some of the winners have been really unusual. So I think there isn't a set criteria for a winner. In fact, I think the chamber has most of the winners have been really unusual, not the usual suspects. So what I would really encourage is, back yourself, believe in yourself, and if you've been brave to start up a business, you've been a professional person, you've already excelled. So you've got absolutely nothing to lose. Put in that application.
Right. Mark?
Look, yes, I'm sorry, just checking on mute. I'd agree, and I think it's. I mean, there are two things. Express yourself. Use your self-confidence to get that application form and get it across to us. Tell us about yourself. Omar's quite right in terms of it's sometimes difficult for people to express what they've achieved without feeling that they are immodest. In terms of almost showing off in one sense. But it's a time not to be shy. It's a time to really tell other people what you feel you've achieved and how that's made you feel as well. And Mashkura is also, absolutely on the money with this, because we get to see, and it's a great privilege being a judge. I know people talk about judging and they wonder what motivates a judge to do this kind of work, but you get to read how people have achieved in their lives and the magic that they've created for other people, or in business, or in the third sector. And it's really a very uplifting experience. The only thing that ever takes a shine of it is if you're reading somebody's submission and they've just fallen short of actually saying what it is that really lit it up for them, what really fired them up in their achievement. So I'd encourage people just to really tell us everything about how they feel about how they've achieved, and echoing Raj's words there, really lay it out for us. Don't assume we know nothing. We're not, we'll read through everything that you send us, and we want to be getting right into your story and understanding how it's made you feel, because that allows us as judges then to have a great conversation about you as a candidate, and talk about the different impression you've given each of us, because the four of us will sit and read the same thing, and then when we come together, it's that discussion. How did you feel about that? That expression of activity. And Raj and Omar and Mashkura and I have worked together before in different guises, and we'll each pick up on different things in the submission, and that's both a joy when it comes together, and sometimes a frustration when people have just not said that final thing. So don't be modest, I would say. I know it's a hard thing, because people in ABCC are a respectful bunch, but it's time to really just tell us everything. Tell us about how you felt about what you've done and how you feel about what you've achieved.
Absolutely, and that's amazing. But one of the rules is that you stay within your word count, and I think that
yes,
if you wanted to just kind of quickly touch on that, Mark, as well.
Yes, that this is the this is a very important point you've made there. So having just encouraged everybody to be as expressive as possible, be as expressive as possible within the word count. And that means using words wisely. So thinking about what's the real nub of what you're trying to get across to us. Don't go around the houses with your story. Be very, very pithy, very blunt and straightforward. This is what I did. This is the situation I found myself in. This is the activity that I did. These are the results that happened for me. Be very, very straightforward. I'm sure, Omar in his professional life, when he's advising somebody to apply for a job, almost, Omar, you'd be that kind of thing. You'd say that pithiness. I'll just hand over to you a second there to see if you back me up, or just say, hang on, Mark, you're not got the right thing there.
Yeah, no, 100%. And sometimes, like I kind of said earlier, don't leave anything to assumption. It's like being at an interview. You've gone in there, an interview panel for a job has asked you a question. You've just given a headline, and you've then left it to assumption that the panel know what I'm talking about. So don't leave it to assumption. But you're right in also the sense of, look, the way you articulate, you've got to be within that word count. Don't just kind of, what's the word, blabber on, or kind of, word dump, just loads of things thinking that that's what I need to say. Be creative on how you answer. There are some tools out there that can help you and aid you and support you. I'd encourage you to utilize those as well. But I agree, yeah, be creative, like Mark said, and express yourself.
Thank you. Raj, do you have anything to add, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, just to echo the sentiment from my fellow colleagues, I think if you've already got to this point, then you've demonstrated an ability to be concise, but to be impactful, to gain people's attention. So you've already got those skills. It's just a matter of using them in a different way. So it might have been that you've pitched to clients before. It might have been you've done presentations before. It's still using those same attributes, but just in a slightly different fashion. And I think, like the guy said, be creative, back yourselves, and go for it.
Right, thank you all. We've had one more question come through. So just for all the attendees that are on this call, if you have any questions, now's your time to type away. What benefits do the previous winners see of applying and eventually winning an award? How has it helped them and or their business? And I'd like to answer that. I know Omar would. So we'll start with you, and then anybody else wants to jump in, please do.
Yeah, so I won in 2018. Here I am 2023, and I'm the president of the chamber. I'm not saying that that's had a direct correlation, but I think what that gave me was that confidence and that belief of, actually, you know what I am doing and what my values are and what my beliefs are, was obviously recognized. I think the biggest thing from a personal point of view, it gave me a lot of confidence. It gave me a lot of belief. To obviously stand for what I'm doing, and like I said, hence why I went onto the board, and then I've kind of now, the president. From a business point of view, a couple of things. Look, on the night, well, if you're shortlisted, firstly, the coverage that the chamber gives around the awards that are coming up, and here are the shortlisted businesses. That's free marketing. That is marketing. The reach of the chamber is thousands, through e-shots, through the social media, it's tens of thousands of reach that you get. On the night itself, that's 400 to 500 people that your business, your logo, your brand, you yourself are marketed in front of. If you're the winner, then there's the press release, then there's the whole photos, everything. So from a marketing point of view and a brand point of view, from like Mushkura said, was, you could be someone who's just come out the blue, not known. All of a sudden, you're well known. People are now eyeballing you. People will then go onto your LinkedIn profile, your company website. They'll come and speak to you. They'll want to know more about you, sort of thing. So from that point of view, it's a great platform. It's a great board. And then after that, you utilize it. There's other opportunities to then utilize it, to say, I'm an award winner. You use it as a PR opportunity to then say, look, I won an award, X, Y, Z, etc., etc. So there's a lot of benefits, not just to winning, but also applying and being shortlisted. Like I said, the chamber do a lot from shortlisted point of view. Your name's still up there on the night in front of 400 or 500 other people, businesses, sponsors, etc. So it can give you, from a marketing and a brand point of view, a lot. And from a personal point of view, if you are someone that needs that encouragement or that self-belief or that nudge or whatever, go for it.
Okay. Sure.
I was just going to add all of that. Exposure is, I think, the main thing, but also I think credibility. I think the chamber is very respected, and the fact that you've been through that due diligence, not only for the winners, but I think also the organizations, the applicants that shortlisted. I think it really adds credibility. And just a short, bit of an insight. As a chair of trustees, I've actually gone and used companies that have been shortlisted. I've never heard of them, but because they were shortlisted and they came within my radar, I've used small printing companies that I would have not, otherwise have used. I've used a legal firm, which I wouldn't have used if it wasn't for, coming across them through the chamber network. So I think for me, and I'm speaking for, thousands of others, I think it also adds credibility.
Thank you, Mashkura. Anyone else want to add to that bit? You're good? Right. Mark?
Look, all I can do is agree, and I think the process of discovery, in terms of people being brought to the attention of the wider world, is the big benefit. Omar and Mashkura are both right. I mean, you are, putting your message out there that you feel that you've achieved something in terms of your business by putting yourself forward to the awards. And when you are shortlisted, people know that, okay, this person's got something to say. This person's got, or this organisation, got something that I need to maybe find out a little bit more about. So it's a big advantage. I think also from the point of view of the chamber and the ABCC, people who have been previous award winners have kindly also then been involved more closely with the chamber itself and spread that message out further. So we as chamber, as one of the other divisions president, we do get a lot of participation from people who've become more aware of the chamber through the awards process, gone through the awards process, sometimes won, sometimes not quite got there, but decided they wanted to work more with the chamber activity and being able to work and augment their business reach by working more closely with us. And it's a win-win all round. I know people use that phrase a lot, but it is definitely a win-win to put yourself forward and just to be proud about what you've achieved, because it does help other people find you.
It does, doesn't it? Raj, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, just to add, that's what's already been discussed. So I think we've added a link to recent 2022 winners, and there's some really interesting testimonials in there about how it's opened up doors for them that necessarily wouldn't have seen before. And interesting to see as well that, as Mark was saying, there's opportunities to get involved in other elements of the chamber. So Sharon Bell, who's Chief Exec of Service for Education, won the Outstanding Charity of the Year award. She's also now involved in the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce's Chamber Council, which Mark is involved in as well, and it obviously sets all of our strategic policy objectives for the year going forward as well. So I think, again, it's a fantastic platform to then look at what else the chamber is doing and seeing how you can contribute to other parts of the chamber as well, which in itself are there to help the wider business community.
Great, thank you, Raj. So basically, in a nutshell, great for your profile, great for your business as well. As Mashkura also mentioned that, she has been using services or products from those shortlisted and winners. My colleagues have in the chat box also shared a recent article on our 2022 winners success story. So please do have a read of that as well. I'm going to go with Raj for the last question now, and ask away that, can you clarify the timeline and the important dates for the application and judging process, please?
Yes, so the application deadline is the 8th of September, and then applicants will be contacted the week commencing the 25th of September to find out if they've been shortlisted or not.
Great. Can I thank you all for joining and giving your time off today, and helping answer the questions that have been coming in. Once again, to all the attendees on this webinar and those of you who are watching us on YouTube, please do go onto our website, and you will find all the applications there, the guidelines. If you have any questions, you can contact us on ABCC Awards at birmingham-chamber.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.